Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So, knowing the word, knowing the voice of the Father. And so it's knowing his voice that is the key for the sheep. It says that he calls his own sheep by name and he brings them or leads them out. Okay? It says the sheep follow him because they know his voice. Now, I want to dig in a little bit in the knowing his voice. And of course, in what we looked at yesterday, Eve didn't know the word of the Father. She didn't know what he had said. So we have to know what he has said. We have to know the voice of the Father, the way in which he speaks. Again, when he called Zacchaeus, there was no condemnation, no shame, no it wasn't harsh. He called him in love. There was correction, there was reproof. How do I know that? Because Zacchaeus was changed. He changed his ways. He said, I give everything I have, by way of restoration, or half of everything I have by restoration back to the poor. And if I've stolen anything, right? So we see there was change, but it did not come at Jesus being hard, harsh, sharp, or pressing. And I say those words particularly because that's what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 11. I love this one from the Amplified. Verses 28 through 30. He says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden and overburdened, and I will cause you to rest. I will ease and relieve and refresh your souls. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am gentle, meek, and humble, lowly in heart. For you will find rest, relief, and ease, and refreshment, and recreation, and blessed quiet for your souls." I need all of those things that Jesus just said he will give, right? Verse 30. "For my yoke is wholesome, useful, good, not harsh, hard, sharp, or pressing, but comfortable, gracious, and pleasant. And my burden is easy and light to be borne." And that is the exact opposite of the kingdom of darkness or the yoke of slavery. Any life other than life connected to Jesus. The burden of being self-providing or self-provisions or self-righteous or anything where I am the bottom of it, is hard, harsh, sharp, and pressing. It is heavy. And Jesus promises the opposite. So when we're looking at the voice of the good shepherd or the voice of the thief, okay, that's how John sets the two apart. You have the voice of the good shepherd, and then you have the voice of the thief. Of course, in John 10:10, we know that one. It says, "For the thief comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. But I came," the good shepherd came, "that they may have and enjoy life, and have it in abundance to the full till it overflows." In verse 11, "I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd risks and lays down his own life for his sheep." So we're looking at and digging into hearing the voice and knowing the voice of the good shepherd or the Father. So when he says in John 10:14, "I am the good shepherd," because it says earlier in the scriptures that they did not understand what Jesus was saying. So he made it plainer. He made it more plain, very clear. He says, "I am the good shepherd, and I know and recognize my own sheep, and my own know and recognize me." And so do we know his voice that well? That we would run away from a voice that we know isn't our good shepherd, even though that voice sounds like it could be right. But we know the timbre of his voice so well, We know it's not his. That happens with our kids. I remember not long after Joseph was born, Mom and I, of course, I didn't go anywhere without her most of the time with Joseph. And we were at a store, and I heard there was, lots of noise, but I heard his cry. I knew his cry. And he knew my voice. There was no other voice that was soothing like Mama's voice. And it's the same way that we know him with the Father. We have that kind of intimate connection that he immediately hears and knows his own, calls them by name, and his own know and recognize his voice. And when we know and recognize it, we allow it to be soothing, to be guiding, to be strength, to be encouragement, to hold us up. All of the things, to guide us, all of the things that the shepherd does. So we're going to dig in next week into several scriptures of the way and the voice, and how we begin to meditate and ponder and study the word so that we can hear the word speaking, right? So we can hear his voice. And that's where we're going to head this week, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.